The black is just our designation for what we do to a snowmobile to make it a performance machine or improve it so that it's more capable. The black is a concept that we may apply to any brand. Right now, the first one that we are doing this to is the Nytro. It would unlock a door for all the Nytro guys out there, all the people that own Nytros, to experience a whole nother level of riding with their Nytros that they've never experienced before. My name is Jeff Hawksworth, and I am the owner of Skinz Protective Gear. The video that you're watching is a documentary on a project we did on the Nytro, and it started out as a project that sort of goes back a couple of years, and it incorporates a kind of a full sled build, but also a new front end. And this video just explains the whole process and the developmental side of where we ended up with what we ended up with. Since 2008, when they came out with the Nytro snowmobile, we've owned many Nytros in every kind of model, in every sort of scenario, every kind of track length, and it was along in those times that we've owned all those snowmobiles that we started coming to a lot of the same conclusions that people in the public came up with, which was, certain aspects of the snowmobile that were really great and certain aspects that were areas that probably needed some improvement. We buy every snowmobile every year, just about. So in our lineup of snowmobiles that we have just in our company every year, we've got just about everything. We have all the trail snowmobiles. We have many of the mountain snowmobiles. So in our exposure to the industry, we're riding all of the machines all the time. We started noticing a lot of differences between all the brands. I think each of us, Ike and Jake and I, and in our dialogue within our company, we just started, I think all started gathering information on what are the differences between all these snowmobiles and why some operate better and why some don't operate as good.
Okay, the handling of a Nytro can be really hard to describe because everybody's going to perceive it a little bit different. But the way that I would describe it is that when the Nytro, the steering or the position of the rider or everything's pretty much neutral, which means I would describe as, you know, the handlebars are straight forward. You know, you're not doing anything off camber, you're on a trail, that kind of thing. The Nytro's totally fine. But it has a tendency to go to an extreme really fast. That might be, you know, with the steering being darty or unpredictable on a trail, or in off camber, the balance point, once you get beyond where it's neutral, flat on the ground, it seems to tip over very fast or feel very heavy away from the balance point. You could be in a side hill, and if it's balanced in a side hill, if it moved away from you, then it would fall away really fast or feel really heavy.
In 2010, this took on a little bit new light because we bought a 2010 Skidoo. It was, at least to us, it was a very incapable snowmobile. It wouldn't handle. It would climb really well. It was a snowmobile that had a lot of unpredictability to it. It wouldn't go where you wanted it to. It was hard to handle, sort of like a Nytro. So we started looking at things along those lines and making some comparisons because the Skidoo XP was a lot lighter than a Nytro. But they really handled, these two machines really handled very similar. But we believed that the Skidoo and the Nytro were more capable than this, and that there were some inherent problems in them that made them handle like this and have these characteristics. So for us, the real underdog in the mountains is, and always has been, from a handling standpoint, the Nytro.
It really started in '09 for me, when I had the first experience riding the Nytro NTX. I had been on another brand for a little bit, and I started riding the Nytro, and it was just a completely different world. When we go out west, each one of us, we all test, you know, different sleds that we have, mostly different brands, but, you know, as Jake and Dad have said, a lot of Yamaha. We ride a lot of Yamahas.
We are Nytro consumers. You know, we're Nytro enthusiasts. We like the Nytro. We liked it in 2008 when it came out. And I think like all other consumers, we noticed some of the things that were wrong with the sled, but you just kind of adapt to it. You learn how to ride the machine, and you just don't really think about it anymore. You kind of noticed it when you went to ride with other people, maybe in certain situations you were frustrated, but overall you kind of just overlooked it.
We've just learned to ride what it was that we were given. When this really started to come to a head was when we got a brand new 2010 Nytro NTX 162, which, you know, they made significant changes on that sled from '08 and '09, and it was quite a bit better. But Jake and I, when we went out, we were in Alpine, Wyoming, and we were doing side hilling, and, you know, we're still learning a lot of these different techniques. When we were attempting a lot of these things, we noticed consistent problems that both him and I were having. It was frustrating. We all started talking about how the Nytro and the Skidoo handled the same. You know, you're side hilling along, and, you know, if the sled catches, and, you know, it kind of bumps you, and you can't get back fast enough, it's going to throw you out front. It's going to throw you to the opposite side of the side hill. That was the nature of the Nytro.
when the Nytro came out, I don't think anybody really knew what the machine was fully capable of or how it would fit into the mountain market. Yamaha came out with a 153, so they definitely intended to have a mountain machine, but what exactly could it do and how would it change the riding style? And I think from 2008 to 2012, it kind of has formed this reputation of being the machine that you can turbocharge and you can make high horsepower out of, and it can be an awesome shoot runner, climber, going straight up. But for the most part, it doesn't handle. And you saw a lot of guys that were doing custom modifications. They would change suspension, tunnels, seats, they'd change the tank, turbocharge them, doing engine modifications, pretty much everything that you would normally do to a sled. So now they have $25,000 into the snowmobile and it still feels and handles like a Nytro.
We are constantly talking about snowmobiles and everything about snowmobiles all the time. And even in areas that aren't currently within our product line, we might throw around other ideas and just our thoughts and the way we approach, you know, what is already on the market, and is there something that can be made better? Is it something we can improve?
Fast forward to a year ago, we were riding in Alpine. We had two Nytros with us, a 2008 Nytro MTX 153, stock rear suspension, stock track. There were really no modifications to that snowmobile. Same with the 2010 Nytro MTX 162 that we had with us. And so we were out there riding with Polarises, and we had an Arctic Cat, and we had a Skidoo with us. And it was kind of a demoralizing trip because our skill was building, and we knew that we were, as riders, capable of doing a lot more, but we felt really limited by the snowmobile. And it just is a frustrating thing. So we stopped off on the way home. We stopped off at Togety, and we were doing a little riding, and we were just going to go out for 2 or 3 hours and mess around. We had a little bit of extra time. So we were out there riding, and we were just kind of switching off between machines, which is something that we normally try to do to try to get experience on some of the other snowmobiles, see what they feel like. And we just kind of noticed some similarities between some of the machines. An Arctic Cat and a Polaris handled very similar in technical terrain, tree riding, things like that. And maybe they didn't feel exactly the same, but they performed the same. A Nytro and a Skidoo had a lot in common as well. They seemed to the side hill very similarly. They seem to have the same trouble maintaining or traversing across the side hill without going up or down. They seem to be just as equally hard to pull over. They seem to act the same in an off-camber situation. So it was kind of like a moment where we had to stop and think about it, because they're drastically different in weight. The chassis are drastically different. The suspension setups are drastically different. So what is it about the machine that is so important that makes them feel the same?
We got back from a lot of that spring riding, and we started lining up the snowmobiles, the ones that were very capable in the mountains and the ones that weren't as capable, and we started putting together and compiling a bunch of information.
One night it was late, and I think a couple months had gone by, and we were at the shop we were still working on these A-arms, and we were basically arguing about what was happening with the A-arms and what was really the problem. We went out to the shop, we grabbed the dynamometer, and we started to weigh each sled. The Arctic Cat, the Polaris, the Nytro, the Skidoo. Our Nytro was actually not as heavy as we thought it was.
Where most people think that it's a weight issue, and while we agree that the weight is an issue, we didn't think that the weight was the bigger issue as much as the build and design, the front end of the snowmobile.